All right, joining me today is Sean Gauci, who fights Anthony Drillich at Dana White's Contender Series Week 9. That fight is on October 8th. So, Sean, I like starting here with all the guys who get the Contender Series call. Tell me about what it was like when you got the call from your manager, or how you found out, however it was. What were sort of your reactions and how were you feeling?
Oh man, it was hectic. I remember it was Sunday morning, and my manager had called me like twice, and I like to sleep in on Sundays. I don't wake up after before 10 a.m. usually, just being honest. Um, and I was like, why is my manager calling me twice on a Sunday? Anyway, I finally called him back, and he had this like weird tone of voice, and I knew something was going on, but he was talking about like a regional promotion that was offering me a fight on Hex Fight Series, and I was like, oh man, you could have just waited till I was awake, couldn't you? Like to let me know about that. And then he had this like cheeky kind of tone of voice, so I kept pestering him. What's going on? You talk to me. Like, what's actually happening? Why are you actually calling me? And then yeah, he told me he got an email from Mick Maynard, and Mick wanted to have me on the Contender Series. And honestly, just like man, just a bit like actually a lot of relief is what I felt because just a little bit down in the dumps. I was like, okay, it's probably not going to happen this year. I've got another whole kind of year. It seems quite hard to get straight in, so I've got to wait till the next season of Dana White's Contender Series and hope for the best. And yeah, so just a bit of relief, mate. That's what I felt.
And you said you were kind of down about it, and obviously you were coming off this tremendous win, huge knockout, violent, most experienced fighter of your career. Were you
Mm.
expecting like something a little bit closer to that fight? Is that sort of what got you down?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily even that. I think like as everyone that covers regional scenes, they knew that in Australia there's like three of us that are kind of spearheading the division, but we all kind of fight in different promotions. So and there's a lot of politics here with promotions and whatnot, so it's difficult. And just 2 days before I got asked to be on the Contender Series, actually, Stuart Nickel actually got straight in, and full credit to him. I think he deserves it 100%. But being a human, you go, oh crap, like that means that's it's not me. Obviously, they're not going to sign two of us straight in. So, yeah, I guess I was just kind of feeling like, all right, well, my chance isn't now, which is fine. I'll get over it, and then we'll regroup for next year.
And so, you mentioned obviously there's a lot of Australian flyweights out there, a lot of Australian bantamweights as well, kind of kicking around there. And it seems like
Mm.
I don't know if you've seen all of the names for Contender Series yet. It seems like a lot of them are getting snatched up by Contender Series this year. You saw, Solid Kid, it got snatched up, and there's other guys too who are, sort of
Yeah.
getting that call. Is it exciting to see more guys from the region? Is it like, maybe I don't want to drive all the way to Vegas to fight somebody from my own backyard? Like, what is it? How does it feel for you?
Yeah, it's exciting as mate. Like everyone deserves it, I think, on the regional scene, and it just speaks to the level that we're at. I think in Australia, I think regionally we probably have one of the highest levels internationally, I reckon. And I think that's been showcased recently with some of the fighters who have come from overseas, like even fight the other guys like Drillich and Nickel, and they've had to fight overseas fighters and they've dismantled them quite comfortably, even though they're highly ranked in Japan or America or wherever they're from. So I think it just speaks to our level. We're all at a high level here. I don't think you really last in Australia if you're not doing well. I think if you watch some of the amateur fights now, mate, it's like, wow, is this an amateur fight? I can't believe this. But yeah, exciting times ahead, I think.
And you mentioned the recent success. It's not just success down in Australia. Obviously, we're seeing success come out of Australia and win in other places too. Notably, I gotta
Yeah,
obviously mention Stephen Ursig makes a run to the
yeah,
title really quickly, puts on a hell of a show. Some people making
yeah,
arguments he could have, won that or was round away from winning that. You're the only other guy that beat him other than Alexandre Pantoja. So I gotta ask,
yeah.
watching that, does it just buoy the confidence? What are your feelings watching that guy, almost win a UFC title?
Well, look, I I fought him a long time ago, to be honest. So I kind of don't like look at it and go, "Oh, I've beaten him, so I must be the best." No, I think he's gotten a lot better, but it also does give me a lot of confidence because I know I've gotten so much better since that fight, and I just haven't been able to showcase it as much as Urseg has. But now I'm hitting my peak. I'm finding my stride, and my health is all good, and I think people are going to see, holy crap, like. I'm going straight when I get in the UFC, I'm going straight for the title. That's what it is. going to be same as Urseg, 3 or 4 fights, and I want to get to the title and make flyweight division great again. Because lately, as you know, it's been a bit rocky there. So
It was rocky pretty recently. I'll give you that one. Now,
yeah.
I gotta ask too. You said you've improved a lot from that fight. I've gone back. I've watched that fight. It's a hell of a fight. What do you feel like has changed the most about you from that time? I mean, you mentioned the health a little bit in there, but what has changed the most about you since the Usyk fight?
I was just a little boy, man. I think he was like 22. I was 20, I think. I was just so young and I didn't have any strength, man strength. My striking, I was very confused at the time because I was actually like, it was my McGregor phase. I think every young fighter went through a McGregor phase, you know? And I'm 5'5", 5'6" on a good day. I don't think my body type is perfect for that style. So I was trying to mimic Connor a bit too much, and you know, being a young kind of fighter, figuring out what my style is, and I'm way different, mate. So in the striking, I think in that fight, he got the better of me. I would say my striking is, if I fought that Sean from 7 years ago, it wouldn't last 1 minute. So I've worked with the likes of Sam Greco, Trail Dowie, and then up here with Ryan Doyle in Sunshine Coast and Ryan Dunstan. My striking, I don't think anyone in the division is going to be able to deal with my striking, if I'm being honest.
And it's obviously both, in terms of volume, but definitely in terms of power. You got some of the most power out of any flyweight we've seen in a while. Two
Yeah,
devastating knockouts that have just crippled your opponents lately. And I got to ask, you said, I went through a McGregor phase. I was trying to kind of pick people apart from range. When you started sitting down on your punches a little bit more, when you started throwing those bombs, did it feel like it came naturally, that power just appeared from nowhere, or is that something we honed over years and years and years?
I used to have a very footwork heavy approach. I attribute that to my first coach, Trail. He was heavy on me about footwork, which was great because I think feet win fights, right? So whoever has better footwork usually wins the fight and is more athletic. But then when I started training with Sam Greco, he kind of adapted my style a little bit more towards that power punching approach where I was sitting down on my punches and my combinations rather than moving my feet halfway through the combination, if you know what I'm saying. So I had more connection with the ground. And then obviously, as you know, being a fight fan, when you have more connection with the ground, you have more connection in your hips and then in your shoulders and you get more power. So it clicked with me like 3 years ago. I was like, oh, and then I was sparring and I was not even trying to hurt anyone, but doing damage and sparring, thinking, okay, there's something there. I actually have a lot of power in my size. So yeah, just translated into my fighting, and it's definitely something I've honed. I wouldn't say I was like God-given power like some of these guys have, but maybe a bit of a mixture of technique and quite a lot of power. Yeah.
And so, heading into Contender Series, and obviously with the hot button right now being flyweight's got to be a little bit more exciting, right? Heading into
Mm.
Contender Series, knowing that that's your style, does it take a little bit of pressure off your shoulders that you're kind of like already what the bosses are looking for? Or, do you not even think about that kind of thing?
I don't think about that because I think if you think about that, you're going to go into the fight a little bit compromised. I'm still very well rounded. I think in that fight against if you watched against Urseg, I was kind of out wrestling him, and Urseg on the Aussie scene at least he's very known for his wrestling. He's good, quite a good wrestler. So I can do it all. So I'm not going to just restrict myself to one style. But if I wrestle, I'm going to try and finish the person on the ground, and I'm going to be trying to punch their head through the canvas. I'm not going to just like lay and hold on top and then pray that they don't get up because I'm scared to strike. But you can't just have a one-dimensional approach. Like my rumored opponent, it's not really meant to be announced, but whatever. It kind of already is out there. But he's also a power puncher. So what happens if Plan A doesn't work? Well, then I've got no Plan B or C. So I can take the fight anywhere if I need to, and I believe I can be exciting anywhere. So yeah.
So let's talk about your rumored opponent. I'll phrase it that way. Your rumored opponent, the opponent that Tapology has listed as your rumored opponent,
Yeah.
Anthony Drillich. You've obviously seen him on the Australian scene. So if that does happen to be your opponent, tell me a
Hmm.
little bit about what you think about him stylistically and how he matches up with you.
Yeah. So look, Drillich he's a tricky stylistic matchup for anyone, I think, because he's a southpaw. And with southpaws, especially that I've fought, none of them have really been power punches. So, um, that's obviously a bit tricky, but I think one thing about this fight is how well we can both put it together. So what's the fluidity like between the martial arts? Can Anthony be as fluid as I am between wrestling, jiu-jitsu, power punching, kicking, all that sort of stuff? I don't think so. I think my conditioning is too good. I think my fluidity between the arts is too good. And I think I could take this fight anywhere. So if I needed to, I can wrestle. If I want to, I can stand on the feet at a distance and pick him off. I think that's kind of what I think of the fight. I take nothing away from him. I think he's very highly skilled and highly talented. I think he deserves his chance as well. And if you make the wrong move against him, there's no doubt that he can put you out. I've seen him put guys out. So, but I've also cornered against him where I've seen him get tired, and I know the expression that he had on his face and where he was in that moment. It kind of looked to me like he just kind of, whether he didn't know what to do, I'm not sure, but it looked like he didn't want to be in there anymore. So that's something that I is exploitable in the fight.
Well, you led me right to my last question. It seems like you're pretty open about how this one's going to go down and how you get it done, but I got to ask anyway. Give me a prediction. How's this one end come October 8th?
I don't like giving predictions. It's a wild fight, mate. It's a wild fight, And this is what's so cool about it. It's two Aussies just having a wild scrap, and that's it. I think I can wear him out, and I think that I can put a pace that people can't keep up with. And I've done it in the training room, done it in a fight. So I think that's how it ends.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. This is man Sean Gauci, who fights Anthony Drillage at Dana White's Contender Series Week 9. Once again, that fight, October 8th. Sean, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me, mate.